Okay, so sorry that it just had to cut out. Now we're on part two. I had a feeling that would happen right in the middle of my little rant, but it's not a rant. This is what I learned there. You know, people, as I was saying before, people wonder, how did this happen? How could this have happened? How could thousands and thousands and thousands of people have been killed and gone missing, and nobody suspected that the Nazis were doing this? Unless you were in the camp, then you kind of had some idea. And it's like, it's happening right now in our own country. Thousands and thousands and thousands of children, of babies with souls, are being killed, and just thrown in the garbage, just like these poor souls at the concentration camps, just burned, just thrown into the fire. We're just throwing our children. Mothers are killing their children and throwing them in the garbage, and you know, that's a reality some people aren't willing to face. Just like the Holocaust. You know, so it was a very moving experience. They did have a little section of the museum that was filled with babies' shoes, baby booties, because I mean, there were no exceptions. You know, they were trying to exterminate a whole race. There were no exceptions. Children were included in that. And so, and just looking at all those baby booties, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much the same numbers we're looking at for aborted children in America. And those baby booties really hit home, because, you know, those shoes were shoes of children who had their lives taken from them, you know, who had their shoes taken from them. And all the aborted children are children who never even got the chance to wear shoes, because their mother was too selfish to not want to raise that child, or to not want to have that child for 9 months and put it up for adoption. It's just sad, and I know I can't judge. There's so much emotionally that happens with a woman if she got raped, etc., but I'm getting philosophical here. It is better to suffer an injustice than to do an injustice. Just because an injustice was done to you does not give you the right to do an injustice to an innocent soul. Never. So, I don't know. That message was really, really blatant when I was walking around those camps. So then, interestingly enough, the next day, we go to the exact opposite of the Holocaust spectrum. We go to the Shrine of Divine Mercy. And what a beautiful, beautiful experience that was. No matter what injustice you have done, what mistakes you have made, the Lord is just, you know, I think he even says in St. Faustina's diary, the greater the sinner, the greater entitlement they have to my mercy. And how powerful is that? I mean, you know, so it's just, when you see someone doing an injustice, you just have to pray for them. You have to pray for them. You have to pray for the mothers who don't understand what it is they're doing when they have an abortion. Or for the mothers who do understand what it is they're doing when they have an abortion. You have to pray for the soldiers and the Nazis in those concentration camps. I mean, otherwise their souls will perish, you know? You have to pray for your enemies. You have to pray for people who have been unjust to you, because they need God's mercy more than you could ever imagine. It's so, so important that you are loving. I mean, that is the biggest witness. Yes, it's okay to feel righteous on the inside, but to accuse people and to point the finger or to retaliate, you know, that's not what's going to convert their heart. That's not what's going to stop them from being unjust. I really believe that the best way to convert someone's heart is just by divine mercy. And that was really, really, really made apparent to me this weekend. There's not much else I can say about that. We got to, at 3 p.m., we got to go to the chapel where the image, the painting of the Divine Mercy is, and relics of St. Faustina. And we got to say a Divine Mercy chaplet. They said it in 5 different languages. One of them was English, so that was good. But we got to hear it in Polish, in French, and some other languages that I really am not even familiar enough to recognize. But it was really, really beautiful. And then we got to, that chapel where all that is in is where St. Faustina had the majority of her divine revelations. So that was really cool. And then the actual shrine itself, you can see it's kind of futuristic looking if you've looked at my pictures at all. We got to have Mass there. Praise God for Father Brad, because it's been amazing. We've got to have Mass in so many awesome places, and we wouldn't get to have it unless, we had a priest with us. So he has just been the best little friar you could ask for. And he blessed all of our holy items there. So that's amazing. I had bought lots of little decades and rosaries and et cetera, and I dipped them in the holy water there. And there is a kneeler. I went back to the chapel right before we left, right after Mass. There is a kneeler, and on the kneeler where you would put your hands to pray, there is a bone of Saint Faustina, which might sound weird to a lot of people, but for Catholics that's a pretty insane relic to be right in front of. And you could kiss it. And so I bought an image of the Divine Mercy, a picture of the original, and I held it to that, said a little prayer, and just kissed the relic. And that was just really amazing. I was shaking, my heart was pounding, being where St. Faustina was, having that connection with her through her relic, venerating her relic. Wow. It's just insane. So, oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on about Divine Mercy. But, yeah, needless to say, Poland was amazing. Probably, it's been my favorite trip so far. That's what I hear from a lot of people. It was cold as all heck, but wow, so powerful. Powerful in so many ways. Me and my friends keep saying we left our hearts in Poland, and I really feel like I did leave part of my heart in Poland, because it was just so powerful. From the concentration camp to Divine Mercy, what a contrast. And something interesting I noticed in Poland, going back to Our Lady of Czestochowa, in Poland, there was a time when they said no more queens. Our Lady, Mary, is going to be the Queen of Poland, and after that they never had a single queen. And just the way they showed so much respect for Our Lady and so much love for Our Lady. And then going to the concentration camps, and the women were separated from the men, because a lot of women couldn't work as well as the men, so they would die within 24 hours, or it looked like stables. They would keep the women. I mean, the men's accommodations weren't much better, but they specifically wanted to degrade the women, because they just thought women were useless, and they would pile them 8 or 9 into these stable things with hay, they showed us, this is where they kept the women. And it was just wow. So to see the degradation of women, then to putting Mother Mary on her rightful pedestal, or I shouldn't even say pedestal, gosh, throne, it was I don't know, that was just it's an interesting contrast, like I said, going from one end of the spectrum to the Holocaust and the complete depersonalization of people, and the just atrociousness that man is able to commit, to the mercy that then is outpoured in a situation like that. I don't know, I could just cry thinking about it. It was, wow. You know, it's, I hate to say it, but it's kind of one of those you had to be there type of things. But it was really, really great. Just so great. I mean, it was very emotional. I'm surprised I'm not crying right now, but at the same time, I don't think I have any tears left in me, because I just poured them all out onto Poland. So, a very powerful experience. If you're ever in Europe, I highly recommend all those places. I highly recommend the concentration camp, and especially if you're Catholic or Christian, especially the Shrine of Our Lady of Chestova, and especially the Shrine of the Divine Mercy. Oh my gosh. So on our last day, we got to do some John Paul II things, because the Shrine of the Divine Mercy is in Krakow, and that's where John Paul II was Archbishop. So we did get to go to the cathedral where he was Archbishop for, I want to say, like 23 years before he became the Pope. And then we did get to go to his hometown, the church where he made his first communion. His house was actually, like, the house that he lived in as a child was undergoing construction, so we couldn't go in it. But back in Krakow, we did get to go inside the house that he lived in while he was living in Krakow. And they turned it into a museum, and they had relics of St. Anthony. They had chasubles and his papal vestments and all kinds of cool stuff. So that was really cool. So just for the tally, we got to walk in the footsteps of St. Maximilian Kolbe, St. Faustina, and soon to be St. John Paul II. That was just a really, really insane experience. And we got to walk mostly in the footsteps of John Paul II. Like, we walked, you know, I went to St. Faustina's convent, I went to Maximilian Kolbe, the Franciscan church where he was at, and his concentration camp, got to walk in his footsteps there. But John Paul II went to all those places. So I walked in his footsteps in all those places, and then I walked in his footsteps, you know, in his house and in his church, and et cetera, et cetera. So, sorry, I'm like really Catholic geeking out right now, because that is just like really, really, really cool. Amazing. But other than just like I don't want to say fame factor, but, you know, walking in the footsteps of saints is pretty cool. But besides the coolness of that, really powerful experience, really great. We got to have Mass in the Basilica where John Paul II was Archbishop. And we got, if you've ever seen the movie Carol, as in Carol Wojtyla, which was his name before he was John Paul II, they shot a lot of the scenes from that movie in Krakow and in that church where he was bishop. So, which, by the way, really great movie, highly recommend. John Paul II, whether you're Catholic or not, he was just a really great man and a really influential man, since he lived through the Holocaust and war and all that stuff. You know, you can really see where a lot of his philosophy comes from. You know, it's just personal experience. So that movie really portrays him well. It's really accurate as well. So highly recommend that, whether you're Catholic or not. He is getting beatified on Divine Mercy Sunday this year, which I will be attending, which is amazing. I could just cry thinking about that. So anyways, I think I've talked quite long enough. If you have any other questions, if you sent me your intentions, I wrote them all down, and I prayed. Not only did I pray for them at the Divine Mercy Shrine, but I prayed for them in every church I went to and every other shrine I went to, including Our Lady of Chestova. And so no worries, your intentions were heard, and hopefully prayers will be answered. I truly believe they will be answered according to God's will. So, God bless. Have a good week, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.